The number one most banned prop firm trader with $6.7 million in funding.
I'm just a trader. I don't like to have a label on myself. I don't like all those terms, smart money, ICT. Does it really matter? Because you see all the ICT guys, it's like less than 1% are profitable, but they have all these insane markings. It's just a waste of time and energy.
Andrew not only talks the talk, he can actually walk the walk. And in this episode, we take a deep dive into everything technical related to trading and exactly how to be a funded trader and a profitable funded trader.
Everyone, when they see prop firms for the first time, they're like, oh, I'm going to get a 100K account and I'm going to make 10% a month and that's 8,000 in my pocket, right? But after a few months or maybe a few failed challenges, you realize that's not really obtainable, right? Because you actually need to make 80% of your account. Like you need to understand. You need to see yourself in maybe 5 years, and not just in terms of money or success. What's your habits looking like? What's your thought process like? How you're feeling about certain things? What's important to you? And once you figure out that person in the future, then you just start to replicate that into the present.
I believe it's important for us to really have clarity in a strategy. Would you be able to summarize your strategy in a few sentences of how you look at the market?
So I focus a lot on.
Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode. We're joined by the number one banned prop firm trader, if I'm not wrong in saying.
Yeah.
Andrew, you may have seen him online. You're building a brand, and I'm glad that you are, because I think good traders should make a brand too, and make some noise and have some attention, and you definitely have some value to share. I've watched basically all of your videos, which is good to see the good content you're doing. But first of all, I wanted to open with that. You're probably the number one banned trader. How many firms have kicked you off their platform?
At this point, I think it's like 7 or 8 or 9 prop firms that have basically not allowed me to trade in them. Banning is a very powerful word. And I use that as a kind of a tool to market myself, like the banned trader. Sounds nice. But then prop firms have started using that against me. So they're like, oh, all these prop firms are banning you because you're a risky trader, right?
Yes.
So we're going to ban you too.
So it gives you that reputation of risky.
Yeah. Which I don't want that, because banned is a powerful word. I'm not banned for doing any illegal trading or arbitrage or whatever. It's just they're not allowing me to trade on the platform. So let's
clarify. I know a little bit of the inner workings, but for those that don't know, they ban you, which is a powerful word, but they're basically, from what I understand, they don't like you because you make too much money. Let's be real. And we know the business model of prop firms. They make money on not profitable traders. They don't want too many profitable traders. Otherwise, it's a liability for them. So talk to me about how they say it to you. Like, we don't want you anymore. How do they word it to you?
So it's funny because banning me for being profitable, that just happened with like 3 or 4 prop firms where I had a couple of payouts and then they just banned me, saying the usual, risk email. When I see, risk department, I just know. So they basically say, my risk is a bit too high. They cannot replicate my trades into the live market, which obviously is bullshit because they don't do it. Yeah, they don't do it.
To your knowledge, does any firm A-book? Popular firm?
I just know one, which is Funded Engineer.
Okay, the rest are just B-book.
Yeah, the rest are B-book. So that's the thing usually. And most of them are just, maybe I start with a prop firm, I fail 2-3 challenges, and then I get funded. And then they don't allow me to get to the funded stage because maybe I blew 2 or 3 accounts. So they just refund me the last accounts that I passed, and they keep the fees for the ones that I failed, which is obviously a scam, right?
Yeah, because they take your money when it suits them. But
exactly.
So when you're in that process of going for funded challenges, I want to talk about your process, because it can seem quite aggressive, but there's one thing being a gambler and a degenerate and no plan versus calculated risk, which is, I believe you're in that category of you do risk more than needed for the challenge phase. And you basically say, I don't need to waste my time trading this for a month when I can just pass it in 1 or 2 trades. So you go for that speed into going for the challenges, and that's how you've acquired $6.7 million in management from how many firms? 10 plus?
Yeah, it's more like 18, 17
firms. So you've played the game well, the prop firm game that it exists. It can be a game you can consider an art and a skill set to master the opportunity. And you've probably done the best out of everyone. So talk to me about your process from 0 funding to now 6.7. I know you had a period where you lost a few million and then recovering that too. So what is your process with going through evaluations?
So when I started, I was funded with like 600K. It was my Forex funds, which obviously they shut down. I was in their VIP program and everything like that. And I secured a couple of payouts, but then I realized if I start to try to make more profits, it's just gonna blow against me. Like go for 5-6%, it's not gonna work well in the long run. So that's when I wanted to focus on growing my capital instead. So basically I used my payouts, my profits, reinvest into challenges. I didn't really care. Maybe I took like 70-80% of the payouts, just reinvest it into the challenges to pass as many as possible, and then just use the fund accounts to make 1-2% a month.
So what was your initial investment into the challenges? Because you've gone from your initial inputs and then profits, withdraw the profits, pay for more challenges, and scale from the house's money. So what was your initial amount in that's your money?
The initial investment into challenges, that was just, I think my Forex funds was like 1.25K, the 300K account. So I don't know, let's say with some accounts being lost, I don't know, 5,000 maybe, but then you get it back.
Okay,
but initially when I started with prop firms, I started with, I don't know if you remember Funding Talent.
The one that was like, everything was perfect conditions. Yeah.
And then they blew up.
Imploded.
So that was the first prop firm that I used, which was a big one. I had a biggest payout was like 50K I got with them.
And they honored the payouts?
Yeah, that one they honored. After that, I had like 30K. They didn't honor it. Okay. So that was how I started with prop firms, coming from a personal account, and then was my Forex fund. So I basically just used those profits to go into my Forex funds. And
that's crazy then, because if you look at your risk to reward in terms of what's gone from your pocket to what you've received in your pockets, which at this point, I don't know if you've publicly said, in terms of total payouts
I think
to date. So out of the dozens and dozens of prop firms that exist in the whole space, who can we really trust? Whether they use slippage, whether they use types of drawdown, unrealistic trading conditions, every single prop firm has hidden tricks. So after thorough research and speaking to a lot of traders, Alpha Capital is definitely the best prop firm in the space. So apart from their no commissions, low spread, no slippage, great reputation, never denying a payout, because you are a Titans of Tomorrow viewer, you get a special discount on every evaluation just using the link or using the code TOT for Titans of Tomorrow. Additionally to all of that, I'm also going to give you a community. So for everyone that uses the link below, you get a free trading care package, and you'll also get access to me on a Zoom call once a month, asking me questions, going through charts, real trading Q&A, and I don't need any money from you. I don't want anything from you. I just want to make sure you succeed with the best prop firm and some good education.
With the biggest prop firms that I trade with, where I have like 6 figures in payouts, is like 1 to 10. Usually the risk reward. So maybe I spent like 10K overall over a year and made more than 100K.
On average per firm.
Yeah.
What about in general from like your initial, let's say 5K in, the rest is the house's money, withdrawals paid for the next evaluations, but your 5K in versus your lifetime payouts, what would that look like?
I don't know. I think it's a crazy number.
Yeah, I mean, to say how powerful it can be utilizing prop firms correctly. A lot of people don't do it in the way that you have done. So I think in this episode, we explore your strategy with firms and then in general, technical basis on how you do things. But yeah, just out of curiosity, what is your lifetime payouts with every prop firm?
I think in the last, so when I started the prop firms like very aggressively in May last year, so less than a year, and I think I did 1 million payouts.
Bro, that's insane.
Sure.
Oh, congrats to you, bro. Congrats to you.
9 months.
So you're 5K in to, let's say, almost or maybe $1 million. The risk reward there is insane.
Yeah.
But what would you say is your scale up process in the last almost 1 year from, you reinvest your challenge fees to buy more challenges and go for more firms? What is your approach in terms of, you started off with 2 firms, then did you jump directly to 10 or did you slowly scale up?
No, I slowly scaled up, just building one account at a time until I was like 1.5 million, 2 million, which at that point I thought was crazy, right? But then I realized like, why not go for more? So that's when I started going very aggressively and scaled up very fast, like 5 million. And then I kind of stayed there, got banned by a prop firm, went down a little bit. It's just like trading any life. You go up, you go down. That was me in terms of capital. So after every high, there was a low and then a new high.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the mental blow of losing even $1 million in funding is probably reassuring to know, number one, it's not your money. And number two, you can get it back. And that's a recent incident you had where I remember watching one of your unfiltered videos where you were going through a rough patch because you lost a significant amount. And then we were speaking the other day and you're like, oh, I got it back in 2-3 weeks. So what was that bounce back like?
Well, I know when it comes to prop firms, obviously you want to, you can either go the conservative way. Usually what I did and what I do now is, let's say I get back to 6 million. I trade conservatively for like 1 to 3 months.
Okay.
So do like 1%, 2%. And then when I have all the money coming in, then I can go a little bit more aggressive. So that's what I did in the last few months. And that's what I did there, which didn't play my way, obviously. But just, you have that reset button, right? Which can be a good thing and also a bad thing. But yeah, just after 2-3 months, I think that's my average of maybe holding some funded accounts.
Okay.
And then maybe I lose them. But I have all those payouts coming in, right?
Exactly.
So even if I was to lose all my capital, I can just rebuy everything and it's not going to be affecting me that much. I don't look at the investment anymore because it's...
Well, the
not
way
there.
to look at it is you've got your 1 to 10 average ratio
Yeah.
from challenge fees to withdrawal. So even if you go through a rough patch, that 1 to 10 might be 1 to 9. It's not going to be
Yeah, exactly. But the thing that I need to be careful about is platforms actually, starting to ban me.
Okay.
Because when you start to go through a lot of accounts, they're probably gonna...
So do they ban you because you failed too many challenges and that's the excuse
They
use?
never say the excuse. Like the recent
okay.
one, which was one big company that banned me, was just because my results were not replicable. But I was trading with them for like
It's
a
an
year.
excuse, yeah.
Yeah, and I had 6 figures in payout. So
That's what I wanted to ask. So do you start to notice like at a certain payout amount with one firm, they start to get a little bit, give you issues and then maybe even delist you?
No, all the platforms that I'm trading with currently, I've never had issues. But
Okay.
the newer ones, like let's say when I wanted to scale up, I went for like, newer companies. After like 10K, they will just send me
just
an
off
email.
10.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
Because
Okay, fair enough.
They don't have,
have the
money to pay,
liquidity
yeah.
to absorb it. Fair enough. When it comes to the prop firm space, obviously people go with, let me get a 100K account. And that's because maybe it's within their budget or something. And it's a very nice goal, 6-figure account and all of this. And that's kind of like the normal milestone I see around. But then there's a few people like yourself who have really blown that out of the water and said, no, you can go for millions and millions. And the beauty, I don't know who said it first. Maybe it was Kyle or I saw it somewhere. It's like trading is not a game of percentage return. It's a game of capital.
Yeah.
And when we spoke on the roundtable on Riz's channel the other day, it really showed that all you really need to do is forget trying to get 100%, 200% return. How about 1% return and having a lot of capital? It will probably pay you more. Is that something was a goal of yours or is that something that happened? And talk to me about how that affected your trading, knowing you only need a few percent to make good money.
Yeah, that was a big change in my trading career once I figured that out because like everyone, when they see prop firms for the first time, they're like, oh, I'm going to get a 100K account and I'm going to make 10% a month and that's 8,000 in my pocket, right? But after a few months or maybe a few failed challenges, you realize that's not really obtainable, right? Because you actually need to make 80% of your account, not 8%. So that thing changed when I wanted to scale up because I was like, all right, I have $2 million in capital. What's the lowest percentage return that I can make without, really going at it? It's like 1%, 2%. So if I want to make 100K a month, then I'm going to need like 5 million or 6 million to trade and make 1 to 2%. So let's just go for that. Don't really look at the investment because that's just it's just an investment, right? But people don't look at it that way. You just throw some money up front, you pass some accounts, and then once you have a very good strategy and trading system that brings you 1 to 2% a month, just use that on your fund accounts and keep stacking payouts.
I see a lot of new traders, their mindset is, let me start off with a 5K account, just so I don't have too much risk. Once I've passed that, got my first withdrawal, then I'll pay for the 10K and then 25, 50, maybe then 100, and then scale slowly like this. Whereas you kind of took the approach of, let me put a bit of investment in and go for many accounts and then many to even more and more and more, as opposed to one account and slowly grow it. What is your reasoning to take that approach?
I'm a very competitive person, so I wanted to dominate the space, to be honest. So that's why I wanted to be the biggest. I was like, let's push the limits. Why not? I don't know. I think Kyle was maybe one of the top. I think he had like 4
Kyle has
million
done similar to you. I don't know in terms of capital, but in payouts. And then
he did more in payouts, I'm sure.
Yeah. And then Pasquale also we've had on the show. I think he's number one.
Yeah, but that's a different type of trading, right? It's just
What
more
do you mean by
aggressive. He was more aggressive in funded accounts, right? Because he made like 2.5 million.
He made 2.5 and his ratio was like yours, 1 to 9, 1 to 8 in terms of fees to withdrawals. He was a very fundamental basis and that was his approach. Kyle, obviously, as we know, is a very ICT technical basis. Where do you lie on that spectrum?
I'm just a trader. I don't like to have a label on myself. I just found a way to be profitable and I just trade. I don't like all those terms.
Okay.
Smart money, ICT, whatever. Does it really matter? Because you see and we've talked about like all the ICT guys, it's like less than 1% are profitable, right? But they have all these insane markings, definitions. It's just a waste of time and energy. My charts are very clean. I don't really even mark them anymore. Just look at price and wait for the right timing and then just execute a trade.
When it comes to ICT, I feel like a lot of people when they're studying and when they're learning, they want to learn like they learned in school. So they're like, let me learn the definitions. Let me learn from what studying feels like. So when you see all these terminologies, you're like, oh, that looks like good content. So to be productive, let me study that content. And that could be a loop of, you don't necessarily need it, but you feel productive in doing it. And the conclusion we had the other day was, with Kimmel on the show, was ICT is so broad as a concept. There's so many things to learn. And based on the few traders we know that have made it work, for example, Kyle, they pieced it together in a specific way, and other people piece it together in a horrible way. So it's not necessarily the concepts, it's the trader at the end. And I like what you said of, I don't need a label, I'm just a trader, because you found your way. Me too, I don't have a name of my strategy. I use pieces of, let's say, strategies, but in the end, the way I mixed it is my way.
And you've seen how we trade very similar.
And we actually are, once we've discussed, it's like actually very similar. And it leads to my question, which is, I believe it's important for us to really have clarity in a strategy. And I think every trader that makes any profit, they have to know what their strategy is and it's predefined plan. Would you be able to summarize your strategy in a few sentences of how you look at the market?
So I focus a lot on higher time frame, obviously, liquidity, and then timing. So that's all I use, right? I wait.
I think our conversation is going to be a mirror.
Exactly. Once I know the higher time frame play, where price wants to head, where liquidity is, where the objective is in the markets, because the market moves in objectives, right? You have like Euro USD happened. You've seen the last week with the FOMC for whoever is watching, like went up to the objective, now came down to the next objective, right? So once you figure out the higher time frame plays, then it's just the matter of timing. When is it going to move? Most people, what they do is they wake up, London session, they take 2-3 trades, right? They lose them. And then maybe they're in drawdown, maybe they have a funding out, they're close to daily drawdown. And then when the actual move happens, they're out of trades, right? So I was there before. That's why I'm saying I know the feeling. When once I kind of remove that and focus on, okay, when is price actually going to move? We have news this week, Wednesday, FOMC. Yeah, that's probably when price is going to move, right? Maybe Thursday or Friday. So I just remove 2 days from my trading week.
Okay.
And then I remove a lot of hours from my trading plan, right? No London session. If I have news, New York is going to probably move market. So I'm just going to wait there and execute my trades then. It's just that simple, right?
One of my favorite sayings that I always repeat to myself, I always do this whenever I'm doing anything, I have little sentences in my head that I repeat to myself. And in trading, I have a few, one of them being a restricted trader is a profitable trader. I know that I have restrictions, and the restrictions I've chosen are there to serve me. They're not they're not to give me problems. They're there to enhance my trading. So what are the restrictions you use in your trading? You've mentioned time, you've got hours of the day. What kind of restrictions have you put in your trading system that are there to serve you? And what are those non-negotiable ones that you'll never leave? You'll always use these restrictions.
I always trade in that time window. So first 2 hours of New York Open, through New York Open. If I was to trade London, then I have a specific trading system just for London where I trade the first 1 hour, 2 hour of London Open. So, when prices move, taking liquidity, moving maybe an Asia high inducement, and usually London session, I would just go for a 1-to-1. Or just try to get, when I see a move happen, like 2-3 candles, I'm out. Because I know London likes to,
It's a quick impulse to Asia high to low, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So it sounds like you don't prefer London session, you prefer New York.
Yeah. Lately, no, I don't really trade.
I'm the opposite, actually. I don't like New York session. I prefer London.
Just because I want to focus more on higher time frame plays. And London for me is just a quick move. It's just something to start the day off. It's not the move for the day. So if I was to trade London, I would just go in and out, try to get whatever I can and have the higher win rate.
What is your average, let's say the TP that you take, whatever the risk reward is, but the TP that you take, usually how many points is that or pips is that on
like
EU?
10, 15 max.
Okay. It's not a huge push. You're actually going for the session volatility.
The session range, yeah.
Okay, so you're in and out within the same day, probably the same hours, few hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you find, because you mentioned Asia range, and it sounds like you're entering the markets on key liquidity moments, opens of sessions where volatility of that session kicks in, which I'm in a line with, my hours are the same. When it comes to framing, and when I choose London or New York, the point of interest is there, and whether it arrives in London or New York is obviously out of our control. So I obviously prefer it to be in a point of interest. But what I prefer about London sessions, because I have the reference of Asia range liquidity, I kind of get an idea of, okay, this was the first liquidity grab. If it aligns with anything, I know the next liquidity zone, as you said, objective to objective. But when I get to New York, I find Asia high and low is probably already taken. So I've lost that reference. So now I have to go with higher time frame, or the move of the day, as opposed to the London session.
Exactly.
And I also noticed that if I enter on a New York open, let's say, or the second hour of New York I slightly prefer, let's say I enter there, by the time in 2 hours the volatility of the day slows down. London closes, New York starts to taper off, and if my objective is, let's say, 30 pips, I usually goes into the next day, my final TP. Whereas in London, it's very rarely I hold a trade over the night. Those are the reasons I don't like New York as much as London. What are the reasons you don't like London with this in mind, and maybe prefer New York? If the higher time frame is
because
not a
London,
factor.
when it gives a move, it usually retraces right after, so you can catch the continuation in New York. And one of the best setups in London, I think it's like you have the Frankfurt high next to the Asia high. London just wicks it, gives a nice lower time frame confirmation. That was what I used to trade, like 1 minute confirmation, the way you trade. And that was a very good setup, very clean also, because it gives you at least a 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 to go break, even if you have a smaller stop loss. But I just prefer New York session now. Just want to enter higher time frame, wait for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, have the higher time frame move, just enter, have a bigger stop loss, don't have to watch the markets, be very active. Because I'm usually an emotional person. I'm also quite young, so I'm turning 25. And I have to remove that emotion from trading.
How many years have you been in the market?
It's funny because first contact with trading was when I was like 17. I don't know if you heard about binary options.
Yeah, not too much exposure,
like
but
IQ
yes.
options. Yeah, that's what I was doing when I was like 17. I was
that
trading
one
the
feels
1 minute
more
candles.
like gambling, right?
Yeah, you have to bet where price is closing and then manipulate the price and everything. But that was my first contact, which was interesting and caught my attention. And
so you've had a lot of years in the game, actually. So when it comes to the entries, which we spoke about on Riz's channel, we discussed how you used to use lower time frame confirmations, similar to as I do now, but then you gave your breathing room. So you're like, I might enter on a 1 minute confirmation, but you'll put your stop loss above point of interest, giving yourself 15 pips, I guess. On average.
My usual stop on EU is like 15. Lately has been a bit higher, like 20, 25, just because I don't want to. I'd rather stay in drawdown than take losses. That's the thing, right? So I'd rather stay in drawdown and let price do its thing than take a loss, have to re-enter, and all of that.
Is that more for psychology, or you found it's just more profitable for you to take that route?
Both. Psychology is way better, not taking losses.
I can imagine,
Yeah, if you're taking wins, then just it's a good way to continue taking wins. And profit-wise, because you lose, you don't have that many commissions, right? Just have one trade and then that's it.
And your average, because your goal at the end of the month is just 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
What is your average risk reward then? It doesn't need to be high.
No, it's my usual trading is like 1-to-1. I go break even. It depends on the setup. So if I see like 1-to-1 is the best I can take, I will just usually close. But I have the higher time frame move, then I will go for 1-to-2 or even the higher time frame objective, right? So it depends on the setup. But usually I try to, let's say I take a trade from Monday to Wednesday, I just close at 1-to-1. And then Wednesday to Friday, when I see the higher time frame playing out, then I can hold to final take profit, or just 1-to-2, somewhere around there. My usual, because I use TradeZilla, for the last 6-7 months, my risk reward was like 1.9, win rate like 60%.
1 to 0.9.
No, 1 to 1.9.
Oh, got it. 1 to 1.9. Okay, so then your win rate only needs to be, it doesn't need to be a high win rate at all.
No. It's like 55-60%.
And that's usually where you land?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And now you've kind of modified your system for prop firms by increasing your stop loss size for the sake of psychology and commissions and so forth. Your risk reward, you've reduced it because your goal is only to make a few percent a month. What other modifications have you made specifically for prop firms? So I'm not that guy that is going to sell out and throw promotions at you, throw this link, that link. You've never seen it from me. But TradeZeller is a little bit different. This is a journaling software that I've been using myself for about a year now. And you've seen it on my YouTube videos many, many times, going back months and months. And because I'm friends with the founder, Umar, he's actually given me an exclusive offer to pass on a discount to you guys because I told him that it's a valuable gift I want to give to my audience. As a trader, it's very simple. You have to find an edge and then you have to have a mind so you can follow that edge. But how do you know if you're performing correctly or not? You have to know your data, and TradeZeller is going to show you everything that you need beyond the surface level win rates and performance and equity curve. It's going to show you detailed reports. It's going to be your back testing tool, strategy testing tool, playbooks, notes, and it's going to be a full journal. It makes your journaling easier, faster, and more meaningful. Whereas if you were just documenting on an Excel spreadsheet or taking screenshots on your iPhone, you wouldn't be able to pull out the data that you need, the correlations that the AI within TradeZeller is pulling out for you. There's so much variety and utility within the software that I think it's essential for any trader. So the link somewhere below is going to take you directly to the TradeZeller website. I'm not getting paid. This is for you. If you want it, if you like it, go ahead and explore it, and probably you'll be using it for years to come.
Well, position size. So even let's say my 1% risk should be, I don't know. I try to keep it under 10 lots per position, or maybe less. So if I have to put like 25 lots, I'd rather split it, just because you lose that small slippage they have. I don't know
on a
if
certain lot size.
Yeah, if you trade like 20 lots, 25 lots, you get like 1 pip slippage on EU, which is a lot.
Interesting,
right?
interesting.
Yeah. So I kind of saw what they're doing and tried
to... Is that across every firm, or was a few firms doing it?
It's a few firms doing it. And then like also the stop loss. So usually I don't have the stop loss placed. I just have it on my chart and I watch the actual trade and prefer to close it manually.
Do you think they target your stops if you put it?
No, not really targeted. I've had instances where like price wicks my stop loss, but that wick is not actually there, which is obviously manipulation. And also slippage, like I've noticed they increase spread when price is closing on your stop loss. I've seen that multiple times. So that's just another thing that I added, just not to be played out my problems. There's a lot of dirty tricks.
So you lower you reduce your lot size so that you don't invite these dirty tricks. What happens when you are approaching a stop loss and you have it visually there, but you haven't put it there? How do you then execute? Do you just put it when it's approaching, or
no? I just close manually usually.
Manual exit,
and I also close one trade at a time. So if I have multiple positions, that's the thing. So let's say you have 25 lots on your trade. If you have it split in like 5 positions, you close one by one. You give like a 1 second between. If you do the the MetaTrader 5 like close all, you're gonna get slipped by a lot.
Oh no way. Okay. And why do you split up your position? Different entries or same entry?
No, same entry. It's just don't have that slippage. So I take the first position. I would like 1 second, enter the next one. Because if you do it fast, they're gonna add slippage.
It's interesting to know these things.
Not a lot of people know it because they don't look at the details, but those small details, they do make a difference.
They make a huge difference. When it comes to your profit taking, is it the same thing? It's the same thing. You split it up and
I don't put targets, and some platforms use that against me. They're like, oh, you don't have a stop loss, so your risk, or maybe I put my stop loss way below, in case it's like a flash crash or something, and they say, oh, you risk 5%. But my risk is like 1%.
Got it. Yeah.
That's what the platform actually used to ban
against you
and not pay me out. Yeah.
Okay. When it comes to this stop loss situation, you have your entries, multiple entries per account, and then you have almost 20 prop firms you trade with, and each one has 1 or 2 accounts, I guess. Meaning to say you have a bunch of accounts and a bunch of entries. How are you logistically managing maybe in one day 30 positions?
Just trade copier.
Okay.
And use a master account, which is my personal account, like IC Markets. So that's also because you have difference in entry points, which can be kind of hard to track. That's why I don't really use a stop loss placement. Just watch it manually.
Is that why you also have a larger stop loss to factor in different price fees, different spread, different...
Yeah, you just lose a lot of frustration, right? Because I've had it where I enter a trade, maybe have a big lot size, a smaller stop loss, and on one account it's like a 1% loss, another account's like 1.5%, another one 1.3%. So you just remove a lot of stress from all of this. It's way better.
And trade copiers, do you have one you use specifically?
It's Traders Connect.
Traders Connect.
I've used social trader tools, but they did fuck up once where my positions were basically placed twice and I didn't see it. So they doubled my
Doubled your
risk.
risk.
And
Okay.
it was a loss, obviously.
Just how
Always
it is
happens.
sometimes, hey?
Yeah.
Okay, and have you found there's a sweet point of funding where after this certain funding amount, it was more headache than it needed to be, or is it just more is better?
Now it became a headache with prop firms, losing MetaTrader, doing DX trade. Now it's a headache. I think it's like 3 million, 4 million is the best to have. You have the good prop firms, they pay out, no stress, fast payouts. Just use those. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Which prop firms have you had the best experience payouts from, and the ones you would say these are my go-to firms?
I don't really like to say specific names also in every video I do. I've never had any affiliation with any because I obviously get approached by every single prop firm. I'm funded with all of them. So I just give my straight up experience. So I've made videos about the props, and I've even posted the ones I'm funded with. But usually the biggest ones, I don't know. I used to, it's just the biggest ones. Funded engineer, let's say, funding peeps, Alpha Capital, which Kimon also trades with. They're very nice. Usually the problems that actually care about you trading. Like if you actually have an issue, they're going to fix it for you. Not just going to say, oh, it's not our problem, right?
What is your plan moving forward? So you've clearly dominated the prop firm space. Despite the lows, you've had incredible highs, and at the end of almost a year, you've almost put $1 million. It's incredible. And now you also reached a point where you can't really squeeze more funding. You're basically with all the good firms, and unless you go for all the little riskier firms, you're at the peak, I guess. Yeah. Or do you think you could squeeze a few more million out?
Not really, to be honest. I think like 7 is the max I can do, and probably my goal is to have that set up, and then what I want to do is once I have all the accounts break even, I will do 6 figures in a personal account and then copy from that, because I want to also build like a proper
personal
account and just have that track record to then go for private capital.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to kind of figure out. Like, what does the next few years hold, where you've kind of reached a good ceiling in assets? You're doing a consistent return. You're not asking for the world, just a few % a month, and that's feeding your lifestyle and even investments. Is there plans to scale up and do more, or are you actually comfortable here and you're making a good living?
I always have to scale up. So my plans for trading, my plans are very big. In the next 5-10 years, I want to go to manage maybe 100 million, 50, 100 million private capital.
A-book, yes.
Yeah, obviously A-book, direct liquidity provider, not just a broker. But I think trading is a very good skill set where if you know what you're doing and you can do it consistently, then just bring more capital and make more money. So that's my goal for the next few years.
What do you think you'll need to learn, tweak, or achieve to go from prop firms and B-book to now investor capital, real money, A-book, and maybe different trading conditions?
I know it's going to be easier actually, because you have usually if you have a direct LP connection, you're going to have very good commission, very good spread, very good execution. So you just throw that part out of the way. Also, you don't have any slippage on news, events, stuff like that. I think the biggest thing is just going to be, again, it's a new level, right? Same in trading capital and then profit. You make $100, you feel like it's a lot. Then you make 1K, it's like, damn, that's crazy. Then you make 10K in a day. Then you make, I don't know, 100K in a month. It's just levels. Once you get used to them, it's just, you get used to it. Yeah. So I'll have to take it slow probably. Yeah.
Slow and it's another mountain to climb. Yeah. But I want to get to, you are 6-7 years in the markets, which is longer than most that we see online. You've done almost $1 million or $1 million in payouts, and then almost 7 million in management. There's a lot of lessons you've probably learned along the way. Obviously, we can sit on a podcast and talk about the highs, but I'm sure there's lows, which we've covered. But what about lessons? What are the key things you've learned inside the markets and outside the market?
Trading is the thing that gives you a lot of lessons for sure, and they hurt. So I've had, the usual losses. I took big losses when I was trading personal capital. That's when I had my biggest losses, obviously. Like 2020, I lost like 50, 60K to gold. Just before the Russia-Ukraine war. On
a personal account?
Yeah, so I knew gold was going to go long. I stacked positions. I wasn't paying attention to my margin level. and then it just weakened me by 30 or 40 bips, and then
Okay.
blew up, and that was a big. I had to take a break from that. But yeah, there's a lot of lessons. I think trading is a direct representation of yourself as a person. So once you pass something in trading, like a barrier or something, you also pass one yourself, right? So lots of lessons, over trading and over leveraging. You go through that. I think you have to go through every mistake to actually go over it. Because even me mentoring people, I've mentored people, and I consider myself a very good person when it comes to psychology, because I've actually studied how the mind works, whatever. So when someone has a problem that I went through, you can give them the solution that you did, but they're not gonna do it, right? Like you say, they need to do it themselves.
When it comes to psychology, which I think is a very interesting topic, it's something that is a buzzword. People use it too much, and at the expense of bad technicals, they mask it with psychology. I think everybody can agree that if first you figure out your technicals and then work on your psychology, which is maybe year 2, year 3 is something to work on.
I disagree to that.
Oh, yeah, tell me, please.
Yeah,
okay.
Actually, I think psychology needs to be the first.
No way. Okay, explain to me why you believe this.
Because that's what I did. So I didn't know I was going to trade, right? But first I'm not saying about psychology in trading. I'm saying about psychology in general.
You mean like willing to work hard, take risks,
Exactly.
these kind of things?
So understand how you can program your mind. Because even us now, this point, like we're disciplined, we're consistent, right? We show up every day, gym, eat healthy, everything. That needs to have a base set up. So for me, it was from a background of playing sports, which helped me, but also studying like psychology. I read like 15 psychology books, and I understood how I can program my mind. So if I do something wrong, maybe let's say I overtrade. Usually when people overtrade, they just get mad and then they do it again, instead of focusing on the actual core problem that results into overtrading, like the core principle that brought them there. So I do believe like before you start trading, you need to fix your psychology. You need to have your expectations in place. Because now with social media, you see trading, right? You're like, I'm going to make so much money. No, you need to know how to control your expectations always. I always say this, you need to have low expectations, not high expectations. If you have low expectation when it comes to trading, life, whatever, if you go into that with no expectation, then it's either you're going to be happy because maybe it works out, or you're just going to be, all right, I didn't have any expectations anyways. Yeah. So you just remove that,
I've seen this thing, it's called survivorship bias, which is basically the guys on social media that you hear like, oh, I did this and this, I took all this risk, I went all in, whatever. And it worked out for them. So you see them on the internet, you're like, oh, that's what I need to do. But what you don't realize is they stood at the top of the mountain and they did that. What about all the people that did the same thing and it didn't work out, but you don't hear their story? So I think, that expectations or, what social media can portray is a little bit dangerous for these kind of reasons. But I do agree with what you said of a paradigm shift to go out of the norm. There's a matrix term, whatever, but I believe it's true. Like, you got to have a different mindset to think different, do different, be different. You have to have something within you driving that. Otherwise, you're going to end up where the system puts you, which is the map in front of you, which is laid out, which is school and job and everything. We are doing something that is not ordinary, and it's a little bit riskier, and it's uncertain, and there's no qualification. So it is something that requires a switch in your brain. What was it for you that took you out of the rat race, let's say?
So first of all, I want to ask you a question. When you first started making money, wasn't it easier to expand and do more money, like make more money from other?
For sure. But I think what for me was I didn't overthink, and I never overthink. I overthink a lot, but when I decide to do something, to take action, I don't overthink. I have an idea. I do a bit of due diligence. I assess myself, and then I go. Whereas people can be stuck in this planning stage of, let me get my psychology good, let me learn this, let me do this, let me prepare this, and you just end up thinking for a year.
But you know why that is? Because our brain, like us as humans, we have a survival mode inside our head, which the society puts us in that survival mode, because you have to work in order to have a place to sleep, in order to have food on your table. So 80% of our mind is occupied with just surviving. So how can a regular guy just they get stuck into the rat race. They have to work the job.
It's true.
They don't have time to focus on psychology. They don't have time to make trading work. They're desperate to get out of that survival mode.
Yeah, so I want to hear your thoughts on this because I have a very fortunate situation in my life, which is very reflective of why I'm in the position that I am. And that's down to my family and the opportunities I had. And it's the exact thing you said. If I was working 2 jobs and I had debt and I had kids, there's no chance I could have done what I've done. I was very lucky where I was in university, so I already had the backup in life. My dad was paying for everything, so I didn't have to worry about rent. I didn't have to worry about anything. So I had 6 years in a bubble where I could just take risks. And if all else goes wrong, or rent is paid, food is paid, and I'm going to get a degree at the end, that gave me a level of freedom and time to take these risks and learn, where I didn't have to pay for anything or have any responsibilities. And when I came to, for example, this podcast opportunity, I already had a financial backing and savings and these kind of things. So I didn't have to think and plan for a year. I just went, okay, let's do it. So life actually helped me, or my family and my blessings helped me. What would you say to someone that is not in the situation like I had, or, just they're in a more struggling situation, but they see trading as an opportunity. They look up to someone like you and see, he made it, so I can do it. What do you think they need to do step by step from their life, their mindset, to prepare themselves for the journey ahead?
It's a tough one because there's 2 categories of people. There's the ones, let's say, over 30 that have a family, they have responsibilities. So once you get there and you're stuck, which I don't blame them, right? Because it's just, you have to do that. It's way difficult. I don't really have an advice for that because I've never been into that position. But I guess you have to take some risk, right? You have to not go to trading, obviously. Try to build something based on the skill sets that you have. So maybe you work the job for like 5 years. You have some experience from that. You have to learn something, right? Use that skill set to try to build a business, right? Either as marketing, whatever you learn, sales. You have some skill sets that you can use, because otherwise, if you don't have any skill sets, then you just wasted your time here, right? So use that to start some servicing. Services now are just the best, especially online services.
Yeah, I agree. B2B or
exactly.
Sales.
You can find something to use based on your skill set. If you don't have any skill set, then you can learn online. You take a few hours every day, but don't learn trading.
So why would you say that? Because trading is very easy or cheap to start. You don't need a qualification. You don't need to do any exams. It's very easy to access. Even prop firms are relatively cheap. Yeah. Why would you say, therefore, trading is not the starter vehicle?
Because it can easily bring you down the rabbit hole where you cannot get out, right? You start investing money, and everyone loses money when they start trading. It's a fact, right? Even I knew that, and again, it's about expectations, right? I went into trading with the mentality that I'm going to lose money. So I'm not going to invest all the money I have into trading. Just going to take it slow, lose the money, go through it, and then, So that's why I'm saying it's riskier, and you need another source of income to feed trading until we actually can become profitable. If you're under 25, your family probably has a home. You have a place to live, so you don't have to go crazy. You can sit home, eat at home. There's no shame in doing that while you either try to get some income started. Nowadays, you can start businesses with no money or work a job for a few months, save up some money, start something, right? But I do think trading needs to be like the second source of income.
I agree.
And then make it maybe your main one.
When it comes to this period in their life, or we went through the same, sacrifice is the main word. And you got to sacrifice something, whether that's your enjoyments, your luxuries, your finances, your lifestyle. There has to be a sacrifice. And for me, it wasn't a financial sacrifice, thankfully to my family, but the sacrifice was time. I had a very intense degree, and therefore I had to miss out on a lot of fun things at university to put in these extended hours for extended years before anything really started to happen. That period of sacrifice for you, what did that look like, and what did you do? Again,
it was time. So I didn't finish university, college, whatever, so just high school, and that was it. But that was also due to basketball, so I played. Had to, let's call it retire, but I had an injury. So after that was just time. I remember I spent more than 1.5 years, maybe 2 years, just nonstop on the charts. I was sleeping like 2-3 hours a day. All I did was wake up, read something, gym, and then just spend the whole day on charts. The only time I was sleeping was you know, when Asia session was starting for like
Yeah.
2-3 hours and then wake up and
What
go.
did your friends and family think when you have no results, you've left basketball and you haven't gone
Yeah.
to university and you're just obsessed with charts, which they don't understand?
Yeah, they don't understand. But in terms of friends, I had to leave that behind. So when I stopped playing basketball, because it was a big thing for me. So what happened was, obviously when you just play basketball, you're with your teammates, whatever, you don't see certain things. And then I had the injury, so I took like a 1 month break. I wasn't in that, you know, circle of basketball, sports, whatever. And that month I just studied psychology and I watched YouTube videos. I wanted to become better. And when I came back, my first thoughts was, what am I doing here? So it was a big realization for me. It's like, that's not for me. And that's when I decided to actually be done with it, cut off all the friends that I had because they were all from the same background, cut off everything, delete my socials, change my number. So I did a whole cut. But I was also young. I was like 17, 18. So I could do that. It was a fresh start. And then when it comes to family, yeah, obviously they don't understand. I tried to explain it to them, but you know,
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. It just doesn't work. So, but they were supportive. So they were pushing me, you know, we have to do something. I did start a business, e-commerce brand, so I used that to make some money. So I was kind of doing something, but nothing big. Still living with them. I actually had a period of time where I just left when I was 18 and a half, maybe 19. I wanted to, you know, push myself out in the world. So I rented an apartment, just went to live by myself, even if I was going month by month, right? But I had to do that.
For the environment.
Yeah, I had not just for the environment, just to throw myself out there, get out of the comfort zone, right? So I know how it is.
You're an extreme guy in that
yeah,
sense.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to experience the fact like you don't have enough money to maybe eat, or you have to budget yourself, right? Have, I don't know, 10 euros a day for food or stuff like that. So it was a fun experience, but I had to do it just to grow, right? So yeah.
When I was younger and in university, and I was hungry. I was hungry to make things work out, and I wanted to do more with my life, but I didn't know where and I didn't know how. I just know I wanted to. Whereas other people are like have the mindset of I deserved more, and they always knew they'll be rich. They always knew they would make it. I didn't. I had uncertainty the whole way through. Uncertainty if I was good enough, if I could do it. More of self-doubt, and then skepticism on the routes I was choosing. Like, does trading even work? I was filled with doubt. And also questioning myself, because my family would be like, why are you bothering when you have dentistry and all of this? So my early days were just very uncertain and confusing. But what got me through was I knew I just had to show up and left foot, right foot, left foot. Just do the work. And I knew if I keep doing the work, eventually something has to come. I think that's just a law of life. Eventually cause, effect comes. When you look back at your journey, and you were a little bit different because you really throw yourself into discomfort, you go all in, you do harsh measures like block your friends and everything. Does that mean you were more confident in yourself and knew you're always going to be in this position? Or what was the mindset of earlier you?
That's a tough one. I don't believe anyone knows what they're gonna do. I didn't know I was gonna become a trader. Right?
Did you know you're always going to be successful?
I knew that's the future myself. So the way I did it and what I studied is like you need to understand. You need to see yourself in maybe 5 years. You need to see how you are, and not just in terms of money or success or whatever. What's your habits looking like? What's your thought process like? Right? How you're feeling about certain things, what's important to you. And once you figure out that person in the future, then you just start to replicate that into the present. So it comes from the mind, right? So maybe the person that I am now, 5 years ago, I knew that I was gonna, not be, I knew I was going to be successful, but just the way I think about it's hard to explain now because you live now, right? You don't remember how you were 5 years ago, but it was just replicating those thoughts, and how that's why I cut out my friends, stopped going out, all these things, just because I knew those habits were going to bring me into the future.
So it seems like you have a goal in mind and you know it's going to be in a few years, and then you reverse engineer a route, and then you see, okay, what do I need to do to get there?
The actions, so the input that you
you're
put
always,
every
you're
day.
always like looking ahead at a goal and then seeing what you need to do to achieve.
So I took that from basketball. Let's say I was a 3-point shooter, right?
Not a dunker?
Also
Well,
that. So I was
I would have
all around.
imagined,
But
bro.
my main thing was a 3-point shooter. I
Okay.
just enjoy that. So to become a very good shooter, you need to shoot every day, right? So I was doing maybe 1,000 shots every day, right?
Okay.
So once you do that for months, every single
Adds
day,
up, yeah.
at some point, the shots are just gonna come in. So it's the same thing with trading or anything. It's just discipline and consistency, right? That's what I say every time. If you do the same thing every day, at some point there's gonna be results coming in.
Yes,
So just
yes.
focus on the inputs. But most people, they focus on the outputs. So they want to make money. They want to be successful. They want to have a car. They want to have a watch. But what are they doing in the present?
Yes, yes.
And the results that you see today, those are the results that came from the actions that you did maybe a year ago. Right?
Actually, that reminds me. So one of the sayings that I always have in my head is think of your future self. And what I mean by that to myself is I always look at myself as not just one person. It sounds weird, but I look at myself as like previous me, really younger me, and then future me, near future me. And I always divide it up. And I always think like I have a relationship with these other versions of me. I sound like a nut job. But it's like, I literally sometimes think I thank my younger self for doing the things he did to allow me to have this. And then that reminds me, okay, so do that again. Do certain things that future you will be proud of. And that's how I frame my behavior. And another thing is in the beginning, I was very uncertain and confused. And now when I started to see small wins and things starting to line up for me, it gave me such a fuel of confidence that I don't have that uncertainty anymore. Not arrogance, not ego, but more like I can do this, or self-assurance. And I think that came from evidence for me. What is the mindset of current you moving forward?
Just do the same things that I did. Just everything is replicable, right? If you did some actions. But I do believe there are stages in your life when it comes to finance, success, family, whatever, future. So I believe there are stages. Let's say from 18 to 25, which I'm turning in like a week. I knew that was a stage to build my foundation, to have something that's gonna maybe set me for life. So you can retire at 25, right? And then from there is just the next steps, like 25 to 30, which is kind of scary, right? And then I know that the actions that I do now are gonna be different than the ones that I did before, which means now that I have money coming in, I have a skill set. Now it's about investing, building stuff that's gonna help me live my 30 to 40 years basically and build a family and whatever. So I know I don't want to be trading the same way I do now in 10 years, right? So it's just different steps. Again, like you said, I see the future myself, and I know I reverse engineer and I know the actions that I need to do today. So now I can start taking more risk when it comes to business, other businesses, investments, because I know that's going to pay off in maybe 5 years.
What do you do? What do you do with your income that you made from trading and whatever the sources? What do you do with this liquidity that you have now?
I bought cars.
Fair enough. What do you have in your collection?
I have a McLaren and I have a Urus coming in, so it's gonna be two.
In Bucharest or in Dubai?
Bucharest, no,
Okay.
Bucharest. So everyone asks me why I do that. It's just, I remember I had this conversation with myself when I was 17. I still remember I was going home and I thought myself like, I want to be a millionaire by 25 and maybe have a supercar, right? So that was my thoughts when I was 17. So I had to, I did it earlier, but just do it a bit extra just to...
Make sure you have two instead of one.
Yeah, just to be happy with myself, I guess. Okay. Just a goal. I know people always say they want supercars, they want those watches. Once you have them and experience them, it's just like, doesn't make sense, right? So I just did that, kind of enjoyed it for a few months, then throw that out of the way. I just wanted to do it now to get it out of my system, and then later on. Right now just bought some, properties, I guess, and not that much. I'm just gonna use the cash now to build some other businesses.
I noticed on your arm you have a tattoo that says private victories. Yep. So that's probably a nice reflection of the things people see on the surface, the car and this and that. Its deep roots are your private victories.
Yeah, exactly.
What is day-to-day life and what are those private victories you like to stack?
Doing the same thing every day. So showing up to the charts, trying to become better than yesterday when it comes to trading, business-wise, now content-wise. I need to start pushing myself. So it's just, the private victories is everything that you do daily, all the downs, all the upsides. People obviously only see the upsides, but they don't see the drawdown periods, the losses, the frustration. They don't see that. So just reminds me that every day is a battle with myself, that I have to win. So when I go to bed, even if I was defeated in terms of, let's say I lost money that day, I still need to go to bed with a winning mentality, like get something good out of it. Or I lost money, but I learned this, which I'm not going to do again, right? So that's a victory for me. So every day I have to don't go defeated.
I love it. Well, when it comes to this idea of becoming a trader and the journey of it, we spoke about psychology, how you should frame yourself, how you kind of went all in, and isolation, sacrifice. So that was how you set up your life. And then you also mentioned now the way you should carry yourself in terms of look for some stability, look for some income outside of trading first, and setting yourself up. So let's say we're in that position, or a new trader is taking this advice and they're like, okay, I'm working on my mindset, I'm working on my psychology outside of trading to have the paradigm shift. And you've got maybe $5,000 in savings and no debts, thankfully, and you still have a job that you're using to pay for your life. Let's say someone's at this point and they want to go with prop firms and be in a situation like you in the future. What would you be your advice to them on the journey to take for, let's say, a 1-year plan, the first year plan?
So first of all, let's take the example of unusual guy in that position. So they have $5,000. They see Forex, they see Instagram guys, they see prop firms, big numbers. They buy 2 accounts, right? They buy, I don't know, let's say 200-300K accounts, all the money. They have no education, they have nothing. I've seen that because, obviously, probably you've seen that in messages also, and then they just end up blowing and losing, and then they say Forex is a scam. So first thing is just set small goals. So if you don't have any education, you don't know how to trade, obviously that's the first step. Now there's free education. You don't have to buy courses. You don't have to just watch YouTube videos and then you just put the work into the charts and you're going to figure something out. But again, it's a matter of attention and consistency. Most people, they go through all these pairs, all these strategies, all these time frames, right? They don't stick to one. So just choose one pair, choose one time you want to trade in, and look for that pattern every single day because it's going to repeat itself, right? Just focus on that. And once you have a system around that, it's going to be very easy. Then you can start going through experiencing the emotions of trading. So I always say, before you throw yourself in trading with money, maybe go for a small live account, maybe go for a small funded account, something that you're going to lose. Like instead of paying for going out that week, just use that money to, because the emotions that you're going to feel, and you need to allow yourself to feel those emotions, right? When you trade a demo, you don't feel anything. So throw $100 in, lose it, or maybe make some, withdraw some, go through those emotions, because those emotions are the same whether you lose $100 or whether you lose $10,000. The human body has the same emotional response, right? So once you go through that, then you kind of start getting used to it. You go through them more times, more and more used. It's like, you get used to it. You don't feel it anymore. So that's, I think, the best way to start after you have the education, everything. And then you have 5K, just use $2,000 to try, again, set small objectives. Try to get your first funded account. So you're going to throw 2K and you need to get one fund account. So how are you going to do that, right? Instead of buying one account or 2 accounts, you only have 1 or 2 chances. Maybe buy multiple accounts. Maybe buy 10 accounts, right? From 10 accounts, even if you gamble them all like 50-50, you're going to pass one. It's impossible. You must be very unlucky not to. So you make your first goal to just get your first fund account. And then make your first goal to get the first payout. It doesn't have to be much. I always say
is
people
that for the refund specifically?
The refund and also that feeling.
Okay.
Because I've seen people, they get the first funded account, they make some profits and they text me like, oh, I made this profit. Should I go for more? I'm like, just stop, right? You have that refund plus money coming in. Use that to buy a new challenge, right? Just get that first payout because that's going to make it real for you. And then from there, you can start investing more and more. But always go for more accounts, not just 1 chance or 2 chances, because trading is just a game of probabilities. Once you widen your chances, you're going to have more success.
let's say now someone's a little bit more intermediate. They've got a good system. They've tested it. They've passed a few accounts. They've also lost a few accounts. I think that's where a lot of people are in their journey. And now they're like, I need to take this serious. I need to go for, let's say, $2 million. And they have a system and they have a level of profitability, and it's a game of probability and capital. Yeah. What would you say is the best way to scale up? And let's say they have a bit of savings to do an optimal plan. What would you say is the best way to scale up in a sensible time frame, and like you kind of do, which is risk a little bit more in the challenges to not waste time and these kind of things? What is that approach?
All depends on the system and the amount of percentage you can do easily a month. That's what I'm saying. Because for me, it's 1 to 2%. Maybe for someone, they can do 4%. I don't know. But let's say take the usual, I think it's like 1 to 2%, right? That anyone can do that. So just focus on trading your fund accounts, maybe for one, if you have some fund accounts, focus on trading those for like 1 month or 2 months, have the payouts coming in. And then if you want to start scaling up, then use 80% of it and just buy accounts. And then don't start trading
them all at once or one by one.
I would go one by one at first. Just go one by one, use a higher risk, take more trades. And depends if you're intraday, scalping, swing trading. If you're swing trading, then maybe go for like 2-3 accounts at a time. So there's a lot of, variability. Yeah.
When it comes to the people you know in the space, and you've met a bunch of traders, you've met someone like myself that is a very 1 minute time frame intra-session trader. You've also met the other end of the spectrum like Bernd, who is very successful in his own right, who is higher time frame and fundamentals and low risk reward, let's say, and he's stuck to that way and it works for him, and he's swing trading, and I'm the opposite end of the spectrum. What is your views on this big debate that seems to be going around, where you have your views on the way you trade, but in general the topic of scalping versus swing trading?
Well, I believe if you know to trade the 1 minute, you can also trade the daily time frame. So trading is just one big thing that time frames don't really matter, right? That's what I believe and that's what I do. I can trade any time frame. So I think it depends on the stage in the life you are in. So if you have a lot of time on your hands, if you're very passionate about trading, you can start scalping. And it's all a matter of exactly how risk reward is. It's also a matter of, psychology versus rewards. You know what I get?
Yes.
When I was trading the lower time frames, I was making a lot of let's say, per month. I was making a lot. But also my stress was through the roof. So
like a headache to reward
exactly.
ratio.
So when I was trading, let's say, I mentioned earlier funding talent, right? When I did some big payouts, I was trading every day. I was taking like 3-4 trades every day, and I was trading gold. So you can imagine how stressful that is. And I was, after a month or two, I made, let's say, 100K from payouts, but I was burnt out. So I couldn't trade for like the next 2-3 weeks. So it's very hard on me, and that's when I kind of start going away. So it's a matter, if you are very good, it doesn't affect you as much. I believe lower time frames are the best. If you can trade consistently, if emotions don't really affect you, just look at the risk reward like a machine trading, you're going to make more money trading the lower times because you're going to have a bigger percentage return. Then it's like also the mid ones where it's intraday 1-to-1, 1-to-2, which I've seen a lot of people do now, successful ones like Kyle, I don't know, Paladin, they do that, where it's a good balance, right? You have a good winning streak, then maybe you have a losing streak, but you're there, right? You don't take 10 losses in a week. Maybe you take 1 or 2, right? So it's a good balance where it doesn't affect you as much. You can also have a good return and then build capital. And there's also the swing aspect of it, which I think it's the chapter in life for every trader after you go through those. So maybe when you get older, you want to have more time, trading is just that skill that allows you to do everything. So for me, myself, I do know maybe 5 years, I will just be taking 2 trades a month and be done with it. I don't want to trade every day.
One thing I like about you and your views is you're very confident and you have your track record in terms of your work ethic for over the last few years and what you've achieved. You've achieved a lot in the space, and that gives you a level of credibility too, which is not something a lot of people bring to the table when they are in the online space specifically. They'll do anything but show proof. So that's one thing I like. I also like that you can defend your position, whatever views you have reasons for it. You don't just say things because they're popular or clickbait. You have your views and you defend them and you speak about it, which is amazing. And the last thing I really noticed is you value your freedom to speak. So you don't take affiliates, you don't take anything that is going to stop you from saying what you want to say. And you do say what you want to say. And that's a level of freedom I think you value. So when it comes to, with that in mind and knowing the online space, and you have been vocal about it, and you know how the spaces people conduct themselves with online gurus, fake traders, and all of these kind of things, what is your assessment of the space with most new traders coming into specifically Forex and seeing the online flashy stuff? What is your comments to those new traders on what to look out for?
So I've changed that because when I started making money in trading, obviously I wasn't really going on social media. But then when I started going into social media, I was like, there's not a lot of profitable traders, right? Most of them are just fake. And I still see guys like big followings, and they post screenshots on their stories with like, I made, I don't know, gold positions, buys from like 1,970, and prices now is like, you know, 2.2K. So like screenshots from months ago, and they say, oh, I made this profit today, join us. And I've realized there's not a lot of traders, and I think it's 99% of people just promoting these are scammers, marketing. It's a good industry to make money from, courses, signals, whatever, because people see it as, you know, I want to make money fast. It's a good selling point. Laptop on the beach, you know, phone, whatever, you can make money with no money. There's a lot of dreams to be sold in this industry. And I think that's why a lot of marketers and scammers came into the industry. And even now I see like myself, because you know how it is to trade and actually make money trading. There are struggles, right? You may be in a losing streak or whatever. And you get frustrated when you see other guys, you know, they make maybe 2-3 times more money just selling courses, and you're like on your laptop all day trading, trying to make money. So it's a bit frustrating. And I just wish people will start thinking. But that's the thing, people don't think. They don't think, right? Because they get brainwashed.
They get lost in it. And this is something that happened to me just a few weeks ago. I hired a friend of mine to follow me around and do the vlogs I'm doing. So a cameraman. He doesn't know too much about trading, or doesn't know anything about trading. So in process of watching me every day, he started to ask questions and these kind of things, watching me trade the sessions. And then he started to look online and see other traders. So he pulls up his phone and he's like, I've been watching this guy's videos. And I had to break it to him. I was like, yeah, this guy is not a trader. He's nonsense. He's a marketer. And then his reaction, it blew me away. His reaction was like, but what do you mean? He's like, he's got so many followers. I was like, and?
Yeah,
and he's like, no, but if he's got followers, why would he, you know, trick everyone? I was like, believe me, this is your first, first time in the industry. But it is the idea of like, maybe when you're 7 years into the game, you see all the tricks and you see all these experiences. But you and I both back in the day fell for that scam at some point. And the new people coming in, they're none the wiser. They will fall for it, and that is unfortunately the truth. What would be your message to these newcomers that are looking at your content, new into trading, watching podcasts, how to avoid a guru or how to avoid a scam?
Well, first of all, they're not going to watch this if you're just new. They're going to watch the day in the life or Sweden or whatever. One thing that I want to say before that is just, I've had actually friends from the past message me, seeing my success, and they're like, oh, I want to get into trading. Does he work? Is he going well for him? I was like, yeah. And then they send me a profile of a big guy, and I was like, how's his course? Should I go for it? I'm like, I have my own services. You ask me, right? You know I'm legit, right? Because you see me and you still ask me about this. So it's just sad to see that. Just block and never message again. But yeah, newcomers, again, you have to wake up. It's very hard nowadays, isn't it? Because you have TikTok, you have Instagram. Attention span is so little. Nobody is going to watch a 1 hour podcast if they're new into trading. They want to see the flashy stuff, the dopamine hits, right? But if you somehow manage to get over that, is just find some guys to follow, either remove all social medias. That's what I did. Because when I started also, I was drawn by that, right? I've seen guys and I tried to do what they were doing and it wasn't working. And that's when I realized they're just fake, right? Stop following. Let me try to do my own thing. So either just remove social media, don't watch, which is very hard for most people to do, which is crazy, right? Because it's not that big of a decision. It's just delete an app on your phone, right? But it's so hard for them because like they're obsessed with it. It's crazy, like technology nowadays. And other than that, find mentors that have results that you can also have. So that's what I like. Prop firms, they're like third party. You have verified results. It's something that anyone can achieve. What I did, 6 million, 7 million funding, anyone can achieve. Maybe not in half a year or 1 year, maybe in 2-3 years, but it's something that people can achieve. You don't need a lot of money to start, right? Just build slowly, build slowly. While you see the guy trading on an offshore broker making 100K in a day, right? How can you do that when you have no money, right? It's next to impossible. So just find results that you can also replicate, steps that you can take, and focus on that.
Awesome. Well, bro, brilliant advices, brilliant storytelling, and also, I would encourage everyone to watch your content. You're a rising star in the space, and I'm sure you'll get to 100K in no time. But
That'll be great.
there's a lot of nuggets in your content, and rather than watching 20 other influencers that are just flashing, I think your content is one of the one that people can really learn stuff from. So from my side, just encouragement, keep going, bro. I know you just started the social media stuff.
Yeah, I try to be real with everything.
Yeah, and I think voices like yours should be out more. So I think you're doing brilliant stuff. And yeah, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, keep it up, man.
Thank you.
There we go.